Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Squared Circle Radio live here on our YouTube channel following Monday Night Raw. We appreciate you guys being with us. Whether you are tuned in live or whether you are watching the replay, that's fine too. The more the merrier. We appreciate it so much. My name's Chris Belcher. Again, I appreciate all your support, whether you're listening on podcast, watching on YouTube, all the things doesn't matter. Support is support, and that's what we're all here for. Building this wrestling community. What a night of Monday Night Raw it was. We're going to get to it. Yes, the OTC is back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about it. Before we do, again, just a reminder, wherever you are listening, especially if it's on Sports Wire Radio, keep it locked in right here. A subscribe to whatever audio platform that you're on. A 5-star rating would be great. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing and it helps us a ton. All right, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Roman Reigns has returned. That's right. Let me reiterate it. Again, after an absence, we know he's a part-timer. It's okay. Roman Reigns is back. He shows up tonight on Monday Night Raw at the end of the at the end of the Tornado Tag Team match between the Usos and the Bronze. Roman Reigns comes out, makes the save, gets his revenge, which we all thought was coming at WrestlePalooza when we had this tag match in the first run. I guess Roman was out filming for Street Fighter or whatever, doesn't matter. So I thought this return was coming at WrestlePalooza. Didn't happen then, that's okay, but we got it here on Monday Night Raw. I'll be anxious to see if they add him to the Crown Jewel card. I've got my Twitter machine up and going just in case something gets announced. I don't know. They wouldn't do a 3-on-2 with Roman and the Usos against the Bronze because Seth is already involved, of course, in the Cody match. But I'll be anxious to see if they somehow add Roman to the card, maybe against Braun Breaker. Against Crown Jewel, who knows? But Roman returning, Paul Heyman's face was just absolutely priceless. I thought it was fantastic and just done so well. Roman coming out with the chair and just demolishing everybody. The big thing about this, though, is the bloodline story continues. You know, Andy York, my co-host, talks about this all the time, how the bloodline story is just never going to end. Well, they proved it again tonight that it is not ending. It is only beginning. It seems like that Roman Reigns is officially grooming Jey Uso as the next tribal chief, or as, you know, the one to pass the Ulafala to. I don't know exactly how it's all going to shake out, but they're at the end of the show. You saw them, you know, locking arms. Roman Reigns saying this is the only thing that matters, talking about family, talking about we're on top, and that this is your show, talking about Jey Uso, telling him, you know, this is the only way to do it, blah, blah, blah. And you see Jimmy Uso in the back, maybe a little displeased. He's been trying to talk Jey off a ledge for the last couple of weeks. Even got Cody to try to do it. And then Roman comes back and basically says, no, you're doing the right thing. And Jimmy said a couple of weeks ago, you're starting to act like Roman. Well, Roman's back now. What's going to happen? So it'll be interesting to see this evolution of Roman Reigns. And is it a step back into tribal chief form? Because we thought we were seeing that heading into WrestleMania 41, not 40, 41. As he went up in the triple threat match with CM Punk and with Seth Rollins. We thought we were seeing a little bit of original tribal chief there. I mean, that's when the OTC moniker came out. And I'm sorry, it was there for a while, but he really embraced it as, okay, I have the Ulafala. I'm back. I'm the tribal chief. And then Heyman turns on him and he loses everything. Excuse me. And then he comes back ahead of SummerSlam and he's this uber baby face. And heads into Clash in Paris, an even bigger babyface. So now, with Jey Uso seemingly kind of towing the line a little bit between heel and babyface, and Roman coming back and endorsing him, and Jimmy kind of being off on his own, you wonder what that actually is going to mean. What is that actually going to do? You see the picture on the YouTube screen there. This is the solidarity between Roman and Jey, and they really didn't include Jimmy in this. I think they both looked at him and kind of nodded at him, but they didn't include him in this. So I'll be interested to see how this develops. It's just another wrinkle in the bloodline story. I don't think they're in the, just the third inning or the fourth inning or, what have you, as Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns have said in the past. But it was cool to see Roman come back. The pop tonight was huge. I thought the tag team match was good. I feel like when some of these returns happen, we just throw aside the actual match and throw aside all that kind of stuff. No, the match was good. The tag team match was a lot of fun. The Brawns just excellent. And the Usos, you got to love when the Usos are together and doing their thing. So a great match. And then Roman topping it off again, coming back, endorsing Jey Uso. I'll be anxious to see how they put this thing together moving forward. All right, so that's Roman Reigns. That is what we led the show tonight with, unexpectedly. Planned on leading the show with John Cena, AJ Styles. We'll get to that in just a second. Roman Reigns, anytime that Roman makes an appearance, anytime that Roman comes back after being gone for a little bit, you got to talk about Roman Reigns. All right, before we move on to the next segment, by the way, so Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins from Monday Night Raw, as we're recapping some stuff from Monday Night Raw here. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, excellent promo. The first part of their career video package journey that they showed was just absolutely remarkable. Can't wait to see the rest of that. We're going to talk in depth about Cody and Seth next week as we preview. Sorry, I'm scooting up my chair a little bit if you're watching on YouTube and I'm a little distracting. Cody and Seth, the main event, seemingly, of Crown Jewel, champion versus champion. For that Crown Jewel championship, we're going to preview that match along with the rest of the card coming up next week, because yes, it is next week, next Monday, which I think is October the 6th. And then Crown Jewel is the following Saturday. So it happens that fast. We'll talk about it all next week. So acknowledging that Cody Seth segment was fantastic. We'll talk about it more next week. Also, we'll talk about more next week. It seems like the tag match has been made official. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky taking on the Kabuki Warriors at Crown Jewel. So we'll talk about our thoughts on what happened with that on Raw tonight. We'll talk about all of that next week as well. All right. Before we move on, swig a Mountain Dew for the working man as we get ready to move on to our next segment. All right. Apologize for that as we move on. Thought I dropped something there. All right. As we move on, here we go. This is what I intended to lead the show with tonight. Round 4 has been made official. A match that was actually made official on Twitter. I think it was right after Raw last week. Maybe it was the next day. John Cena and AJ Styles. The match that we all wanted to see. We didn't think we were going to get to see it, but here we are. Now, before I dive into all the positives about this, because again, everybody wants to see this and it's going to be fantastic and we're all excited. I'm going to dive into the positives about it in just a minute, but I got to nitpick it for just a second. I got to acknowledge the negative. The one thing I didn't like about this. So Cena is tweeting last week during Monday Night Raw. In fact, I mentioned it. Excuse me. I mentioned it on the podcast last week that John Cena was tweeting about it. And it coincided with the WrestlePalooza recap package. where they were showing Brock Lesnar beating up John Cena, essentially squashing him. And Brock saying that he's going to end the retirement tour early. Now, I know that Cena only has 5 appearances left, so he technically can't come out on TV and do whatever. I don't know what that appearance contract looks like. I would think that Cena could do a social media video and post something. I just don't like that it's seemingly Cena gets squashed by Brock and we're glossing over it and just moving on to the next match. Like, that almost makes me think that we're not getting any more Cena and Brock, which, I mean, I'll be fine with it. That's no big deal. But it makes me think we're not getting any more Cena Brock. I don't know. Like, I want Cena to acknowledge it before he moves on. Like, hey, I got beat up and Brock squashed me, and I'm going to try to pick myself up and move on and whatever. I just don't like that he didn't even acknowledge it. It's like he tweeted this thing about AJ and it's like the Brock thing never happened. So I think that could have been handled a little bit better. Having said that, though, I'm very glad that we're getting this match. This match does not need a build at all. Like, AJ acknowledged it tonight on Raw, and he also said that he gets to do his favorite thing, which is beat up John Cena, which is just, I love it so much. I love that era of AJ Styles so much. That was his first run, his first year in WWE, and what a rookie year. Not too many people had the rookie year that AJ Styles had in WWE in 2016. What a year for AJ. And yeah, it's just fantastic. It's just so good. I'm very glad that we're getting this match, as well as, the rest of the world is very glad we're getting this match, because you can argue who John Cena's best rival is, which I'll actually get to in a minute. But as Sam Roberts likes to say, I think the answer for his biggest rival and his best matches are two different things. And when you talk about his best matches, his trilogy of matches with AJ Styles in 2016 and beginning of 2017 was just incredible. You're looking on the YouTube screen. The one here on the far left of the screen is the SummerSlam match. The one before that in the bottom right is the Money in the Bank match. That was the first singles match. And then the top right is the final match, the Royal Rumble, which gave John Cena his 16th championship, which he won again over AJ Styles. So when Cena hit the Styles Clash, we all were like, oh, he's paying tribute to all of his past opponents. We're not going to see this match. Well, it might not have been the plan all along, but it's happening now. And if it's anything like those 3 matches that I just discussed, again, Money in the Bank 2016, SummerSlam 2016, Royal Rumble 2017, they had some other things that they were involved in. There was a 6-man tag match with Enzo and Cass, and that's a throwback, and the Good Brothers. They were in a 6-pack challenge or a fatal 5-way. I think it was Fastlane heading into WrestleMania 34. And then they were also in the Elimination Chamber heading into WrestleMania 33 together. Maybe a couple other times that they've shared the ring, but those were the ones that stand out to me. Regardless, if this match, a Crown Jewel, is anything close to what that trilogy of matches was in 2016, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. If you are new to wrestling, I realize that there are a lot of new wrestling fans out there, and you're not familiar with this trilogy of matches between John Cena and AJ Styles. Normally, when there's multiple matches of people and, a storyline, you normally pick one and say, oh, this is the one to watch for sure. And if you're going to familiarize yourself with these guys, this is the one to watch. It's my recommendation. I'm going to tell you right now, block yourself out about an hour and a half and go watch all 3 of these matches. You can't just watch one. So again, Money in the Bank 2016, SummerSlam 2016, and Royal Rumble 2017. Go watch those 3 matches. In fact, you know what? I'm probably going to go watch all 3 of those matches this week as well. There may even be a playlist on Peacock about the rivalry or on YouTube. If it's not up already, it will be up this week as we prepare, get, closer to this Crown Jewel match coming up on October the 11th. But this is the best in-ring performances of John Cena's career, these 3 matches. Of course, the Cody Rhodes match from earlier this year is up there. You got his matches with Seth Rollins, which will always be thought of fondly. But as far as in-ring work, the best in-ring work of John Cena's career was against AJ Styles. So that begs the question. We only have 5 appearances left for John Cena on this farewell tour, and AJ Styles, man, he's not far from hanging it up either. I think he said last week that he's in talks right now for WrestleMania 42 in Vegas, but that he's done next year. Like, he's done. He's retiring. His contract's up. He's retiring. So we don't have very many more AJ matches left either. So that begs the question, who wins this match? I think the result could go either way in this match. What I don't want to see happen is Brock Lesnar show up and decimate both of them and it be like a no contest. That would just be awful. A lot of people are talking about how Triple H has dropped the ball on this John Cena retirement tour. And a lot of people are not happy about the way that some of these things have been booked. And that's their opinion, and that's fine. And we'll break down this whole retirement tour once it's over. But if you really want to make fans upset, you really want to make me upset, have Brock Lesnar show up in this John Cena AJ Styles match and see what happens. I'll be furious if that happens. It'll be interesting to see if the Brock loss carries over to Cena, if he's hurt, what his recovery is. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not ready to make a prediction on this one just yet. I'm going to mull over it over the next week, and I'm going to make my prediction coming up next week when we preview the entire card of Crown Jewel. Now, speaking of Crown Jewel, a lot of people are upset because of the Crown Jewel start time. The Crown Jewel start time, 8 a.m. Eastern. Guys, internet wrestling community, let me address you for just a second. It's in Australia. They're in a different time zone. If WWE went to another country and tried to run a show at a time that was convenient for us folks here in the United States, they wouldn't get very many people in the building. It would be a weird time. Even if they went to England or whatever, like, it would be a weird time. Just think about it. When they did London, when they did Money in the Bank in London, and it was at, I think it was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that here in the States. So that's 6 hours. Let's call it 6 hours for the sake of this argument. That makes it 8 p.m. local time. So if you did it at 8 p.m. Eastern time, you're going to add 6 hours. They're doing that at the show at 3 in the morning, 4, whatever. No. So people on the internet who are up in arms about the start time, just get over it. Come on. Just get over it. We're going to see John Cena versus AJ Styles. Just get over it. It's going to be fine. We're going to see the fourth. Not only are we going to see the fourth match between John Cena and AJ Styles, we're going to see the fourth match between Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Just get over it. Set your alarm, get up and watch it. Or watch it later. Not going to hurt anybody's feelings. It's fine. But just don't complain about stuff like that. That's ridiculous. All right. Speaking of John Cena, well, I'll tell you what, before we get to John Cena, another thing about John Cena. Before we get there, let's take a little pause for the cause. Let's tell you about our friends. In fact, no, I'm not going to tell you about our friends at Sports Wire Radio. There's so much content over there. There's so much that those guys are doing over there. I would leave something out. But what I am going to do is let the Reverend Tom Bryce jump in. I'm going to tag him in and let him tell you about all the great content on SportsWire Radio. Take a listen.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck, because SportsWire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, with great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows; New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska; the Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip; Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind; Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, SportsWire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice; those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael; a work in progress featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org, and you can also catch SportsWire Radio anytime on YouTube at SportsWire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. SportsWire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on SportsWire Radio. I am your host, the owner of SportsWire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
All right. Thank you to Tom Bryce. And thank you to all of you for checking out our show. You're listening to Squared Circle Radio Live, whether you are, again, listening on podcast or you're watching us live on the YouTube channel, or if you're watching the replay. All those things are perfectly acceptable. We just appreciate your support. Drop those comments, drop those questions. I'll be happy to take those live. I'll also be happy to respond to those post-show. I'll be happy to respond to those if you're watching the replay. I would appreciate that so very much. All right, let's get to it. Next topic of conversation about John Cena. Again, we're nearing the end of the farewell tour, so I feel like we're going to talk a lot of John Cena over the next 2+ months as we look back and look at what's happened on the farewell tour, as we look at what could have been on the farewell tour. And that's what our next segment is about, is what could have been on the farewell tour. Well, let me just say, maybe not what could have been, what many fans want to be. Wishful thinking. I'll stop beating around the bush. Here's what I mean. Last week on AEW Dynamite, yes, AEW Dynamite, we don't talk about that normally on this show, but this is very relevant. AEW showed a clip of Adam Copeland, aka Edge, and Christian Cage backstage after their match with FTR at All Out. And if you follow AEW, you know what happened. But if you don't, let me just sum it up for you. Beth Phoenix, aka Beth Copeland, made her AEW debut and took a spike pile driver from FTR. Now, Adam Copeland, Edge, I'm going to call him Edge for the sake of this segment, and Christian won the match, but the spike pile driver happened afterwards. So Edge goes up to Christian in the locker room and he says, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep putting my family in this situation that's happened time and time again. He's referring back to the storyline with the Judgment Day when they had Beth Phoenix tied up in the, the concerto with Edge tied up, I apologize, in the I Quit match with Edge and Balor. So he can't keep doing this anymore. He's leaving and he doesn't know when he's going to come back. That's what he tells Christian. And he leaves. And immediately the internet goes into a frenzy. Oh my goodness. Edge is leaving. We don't know who John Cena's last opponent's going to be in December yet. What if Edge comes back to the WWE and he faces John Cena in his final match? Let's think about this for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Once this started, I'm not going to spend too much time on this segment, but I have to address it because it's been squashed by almost every major wrestling news site that this was just an angle. Edge leaving was just an angle. He's probably going to go film Percy Jackson or whatever, or he's going to take some time away. the thing that got everybody going was the fact that somebody reported that Edge's contract is up in October of this year. So that lines up for him to be able to come back to face John Cena. In all actuality, Edge said on the Chris Van Vliet podcast earlier this spring that he has a year and a half left on his deal. Now, my timeline could be a little wrong when that aired, but I'm fairly certain it was this past spring. A year and a half, which would put it in October of 27, not 26. And when he signed with AEW, I'm sorry, in October of 26, not October of 25. I apologize. I misspoke. Because what I was trying to get at was he signed with AEW in October of 2023, and he signed a 3-year deal. 2023 plus 3 years is 2026. And AEW has been known to tack on some time on contracts for injury. Well, Edge had a pretty major injury in AEW, and he missed some time. So probably add some more time to that. Plus, I'm just trying to think about all the logic situations here. Plus, do you really think that AEW would have made it such a high profile angle for him to leave to go to WWE? Why would AEW, for the sake of their business and the sake of their storylines, have spotlighted him leaving if they knew he was going to the competition? I'm just saying, it doesn't make a lot of business sense. So all of these people on the internet who are freaking out and are saying, you know, he's going to be in WWE, blah, blah, blah. It's like, just think about it. Just think about the logic behind all of that. Plus, let's just say, for instance, that Edge is leaving AEW and he's going to WWE. Don't you think that AEW would have given him a better send-off than what they gave him? Don't you think that would have happened? Come on, just think about those things. Now, if you look on the flip side of this, if he was leaving AEW, this was the match to go out on. This is the match that he said he wanted when he first got to AEW, or even before he got to AEW. He wanted to wrestle FTR, and he wanted to be in there with Christian. This was the match. That's the one they wanted. They got it. So if he was going to leave, it was in Toronto. It was the one to go out on. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like Sam Roberts said on his podcast earlier today, and I quoted this. He says, it's like pretending that I have information that I don't, which doesn't stop anyone else from reporting it on the internet, but it will stop me. People report it as fact on the internet. Again, if you Google it, if you Google AEW, Edge's AEW contract, the AI response says it ends in October 2020. Yeah, 2026. Like, there it is. It's right there. Not this year. It's there. Like, I just don't know why people come up with the things that they come up with. I guess to get people like me talking. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. What I will say and how this pertains to John Cena is, if you guys know anything about the Ruthless Aggression era, you know that Edge is arguably John Cena's greatest rival of his career. The rivalry that they had in 2006 made both of these guys WWE main eventers and Hall of Famers. It was two guys that were looking to prove it. They were looking to show everybody that when Shawn Michaels and Triple H and The Rock and those guys are gone, we're going to take the ball. Those two guys, along with guys like Batista and Randy Orton, just solidified themselves. But specifically John Cena and Edge, the 2006 rivalry, I'll never forget it. It's one of my favorite rivalries of all time. So, as much as I would love to see this match happen for John Cena's final match, the internet would explode if Metalingus hits and Edge walks out to face John Cena. There's no way it happens. I will say no way, because you never say never in the world of wrestling. I don't see Tony Khan letting WWE borrow Edge just to wrestle John Cena. I give it 0.1. 0.1, not even 0.01. I'll give it 0.1. 99.9% sure this is not happening. It's always a chance, but 99.9% sure it's not happening. All right. Before we wrap up here, let's talk about a couple of things from Friday Night SmackDown. Again, appreciate you guys joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're listening to us on podcast, whether you're watching the replay on YouTube. Thank you so much. If you are watching live and you have thoughts and you have comments and questions, drop them in the chat. I'm happy to address those. I want to talk about what you guys want to hear about. We've talked a little bit about Monday Night Raw tonight. We've talked about John Cena and AJ Styles. Right now, we're going to address the major botch that happened at the end of Friday Night SmackDown this past week in the women's triple threat match between Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, and Nia Jax. And as you see on your screen on YouTube, the botch that happened was the referee not counting 3 in a spot where it was supposed to be a finish, seemingly, and it wasn't. I don't know. Go listen to Busted Open this morning. Bully Ray did a fantastic job of going through this frame by frame and pointing out the things that he sees and what he thinks happened, who he thinks is to blame. All I'm saying is people on the internet, again, this is a couple weeks in a row now, I've addressed people on the internet, and I apologize for those of you who might be watching our show and get offended by that. But there's just some nonsense that people float around. I'm just trying to just level things out here, guys. Come on. The nonsense that people are putting out there online about how Daphne LaShawn, the referee, should get fired for this. Come on, people. This is not the first botch that a referee has ever had, and it will not be the last. Assuming that it was Daphne LaShawn's fault. I don't know. If it was her fault, she doesn't deserve to get fired. Everybody makes mistakes. She even tweeted about it and said that she made the mistake. Now, she may be the kind of person that's going to own up to it or take the fall or whatever. Very easily could have been Nia Jax's fault for not kicking out. Bully Ray, said that Tiffany Stratton being late on the save on Jade Cargill could have thrown the whole thing out of whack and gotten everybody really confused. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. City Kitty in the chat. Sorry you missed the first part. Catch it on replay. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. Trolls always be trolling. That's it. Maybe that should be the slogan of the podcast, City Kitty. Trolls will be trolling. Trolls always be trolling. I just don't understand. I don't understand people that just waste their time. I just don't understand it. Anyway, but all that to say, yes, it was a major botch. No, I don't know who was to blame. But even if I did, not going to sit here and just take them to task for screwing up, because everybody screws up. Everybody makes mistakes at their job. I made mistakes at my job today. My wife made mistakes at her job today. Lots of people make mistakes at their job. These people, their job just happens to be on national television in front of a worldwide audience. Their mistakes get magnified. That's the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. All right, one more thing to talk about before we get out of here tonight. A little bit of a shorter show tonight, but that's okay. One thing that I do want to talk about is Sami Zayn and his U.S. Championship Open Challenge. And we did a segment a couple of weeks back about Sami Zayn being worthy of a championship. And the narrative in the internet wrestling community, there are positives in the internet wrestling community. I don't want to say it's all negative. There are positives. But the narrative that was out there when Sami won the U.S. Championship from some of the dirt sheet writers and journalists was that this was a test run to see if Sammy could hold a championship, make it popular, make people look forward to it. And it was a test run to see before he becomes world champion, potentially at WrestleMania after winning the Royal Rumble in Saudi. Okay, I can buy that. I'm not a fan, but I can buy that. And Andy and I did a segment on that a couple of weeks back. And I was pretty critical that I did not believe that fans would tune in to watch Sami Zayn headline a show. The national, let me rephrase, the casual WWE fan, I don't think is going to tune in to a show headlined by Sami Zayn. I just don't. Your hardcore wrestling fans appreciating the work that Sami Zayn puts in and the talent that he has, sure, they'll be happy to watch Sami Zayn. I mean, NXT was on fire when Sami Zayn was there and he was champion, and he was chosen to be Nakamura's first opponent for a reason. He was chosen to be Johnny Knoxville's only opponent for a reason. Like, Sami Zayn's really, really good. I would dare say he's a step above a good hand. Is he world champion material? I don't know. Go back in our archives. I'll try to link that video right here of us talking about that. So go back and check out that video. But I say all that to say, Sami Zayn has done a fantastic job with the U.S. Open Challenge that he's doing in honor of John Cena. Having John Cena be one of his opponents, having Rey Fenix be an opponent, having Carmelo Hayes be an opponent, and this past Friday, Javon Evans from NXT being an opponent. Sammy's doing it the right way with this Open Challenge, given the nod to Cena, like I mentioned, but given the opportunity to younger guys, some underutilized guys, those kind of things. So Sammy's doing a great job. Here's where I will play devil's advocate, though. I don't see the fans totally turning on Sami Zayn, but when you put yourself in a position, an Open Challenge position, to bring in younger talent, to spotlight underutilized people that everybody loves, and younger talent that everybody wants to get behind, eventually I feel like there's going to be a point where people want you to lose. They want you to drop a championship. Imagine if Oba Femi is his next challenger, who just dropped the NXT championship. Imagine if that guy shows up. People are going to want him to win the title. The people were behind Javon Evans on SmackDown. They were ecstatic, especially when he hit the Avalanche Hurricane Rana and the groan when they got the 2 count. And then it just seemed like the crowd kind of died down when they realized that Sami was going to win the match. So I'm just afraid that too much of that, again, people aren't going to just boo Sami Zayn, but they're going to be ready for him to not be champion anymore. And if this is playing up to the fact that he might be the next world champion on either Raw or SmackDown, this might stunt his momentum a little bit. And I certainly wouldn't want that, especially when you're trying to build him up. So I don't know. Just another side to look at this U.S. Open Challenge, and another way to take a peek under the hood and see how they're doing things and what's going on and all that kind of stuff. Again, they being WWE creative, they know a lot more than I do. They know what they're doing. Trust the process. Watch the product. Speculate wildly. All those kind of things. So that's going to do it for Squared Circle Radio tonight. We appreciate you guys being with us. Again, if you're just now tuning in, make sure you go back, check out the replay of the show. Check out what's going on. Talking about Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, John Cena, AJ Styles, all those kind of things. We would appreciate that so very much. City Kitty in the chat. Yes, what a fantastic Raw. I missed that comment a few minutes ago. Sorry about that. Javon Evans, a superstar in the making. He is. Got a lot of charisma. That kid has done a lot of things. I think he's only like 24 years old. He's done a lot of things already in WWE and in AEW. Pretty sure he was in AEW for a cup of coffee. So, kid's got a bright future ahead of him. He really, really does. All right, so coming up next week, Crown Jewel preview. I think Monday Night Raw starts at an earlier time again at 7 p.m. Eastern. Don't hold me to that. It might be normal time. This earlier start time on Raw is really throwing me off for doing a show right after Raw. So, all that to say, we'll try to get our ducks in a row next week as we preview Crown Jewel. That's coming up October the 11th in Perth, Australia. It's going to be a loaded card. Again, we're going to preview the whole thing coming up next week. All right. Appreciate you guys being tuned in. Like the show, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow the show on podcast, rate the show, review the show, all of those things. Listen, I don't tell you those things just to hear myself talk. I tell you those things because it really helps the show. So if you're digging what we're doing and you want to help the show, please make sure that you do those things. I would appreciate it so much. My name is Chris Belcher. Thank you for being tuned in to another episode of Squared Circle Radio. We will catch you guys down the road.